In the early 1970s, I first came to Loch Lomond. As millions of other people, I was in total awe of the breathtaking beauty. I climbed aboard the Maid of the Loch, and we sailed off around a wee bit of heaven. That evening, I wrote some lines for a song. I wrote many that summer. A good few of them ended up on records. These lines did not make it into a song, but I still have my notebook from back then, and these are some of the words I wrote. Leave a wake like fresh driven snow. Catch a glimpse of the mountains as we go. Tell the children to watch so they know the beauty of Scotland before it goes. For the oil refinery works all night. 2 flaming torches through the light. You can see their smoke miles away. See the Polaris submarine ready for a visit by the Queen. Half a century or more after that, it seems to me that Scotland is no longer. Oh, there are echoes and glimpses of that past. Some things still remain, by my way of thinking. Many people now disregard the beauty and leave a lot of rubbish about. Some people are a lot less caring for Scotland than they were, and there are those who see our lochs and mountains as merely a pretty backdrop for their plans. We're flooded by English television and under a cloak of the United Kingdom. The words such as British. For about a decade, a British firm, Flamingo Land, has been trying to take over the southern shore of one of Scotland's most iconic places and turn it into what some would describe as a holiday camp. I searched for people who might commit their feelings on this controversial subject. Plenty expressed their feelings. Some were for and some were against. 1 or 2 had never heard of the idea. Some thought it would bring money to the village. Others that it would damage the established businesses of the area. What I can tell you is that Balach, the village to the south of Loch Lomond, has a parking problem. Not only boats, but cars too. It seems that the Flamingo development could bring another 250 cars per hour to the Balach area. Flamingo Land in North Yorkshire, England, was started by Edwin Pentland Hick in 1959. He purchased a bankrupt country club to make a zoo, the Yorkshire Zoological Gardens. A colony of flamingos were some of the first animals to live there. Fairground rides became a feature alongside the zoo, and celebrities made appearances. A haunted house and other amusements were added to try and attract crowds, but the operation lost a lot of money. Scotia Leisure Limited, the owners, gave up on the business and sold it to Robert Gibb, one of their directors, in 1978. They renamed it Flamingo Land. Robert Gibb sacked the staff and re-employed them on seasonal contracts. Flamingo Land had branched out in 1993 and purchased a business in administration, Pleasure Island Family Theme Park of Cleethorpes. Robert Gibb died in a car accident in 1995, and Flamingo Land and Pleasure Island were inherited by his children. Pleasure Island closed at the end of the 2016 season. Flamingo Land Limited have donated £185,999 to the Conservative Party since 2014. And since 2024, the owners of Flamingo Land have financially supported Reform UK. Much has changed in the past 50 years. The Maid of the Loch sits on a dry dock, awaiting restoration. The Grangemouth refinery has been closed. Polaris has been superseded by Trident. And the world sometimes seems ever more mad.
Have you made a final decision of Iran? Have you made a final decision on Iran? Have you made a final decision on Iran?
No, I haven't.
Do you believe that Iran is producing nuclear weapons?
If negotiation break down with Iran, Well, we haven't made a final decision. We're not exactly happy with the way they negotiated. They cannot have nuclear weapons, and we're not thrilled with the way they're negotiating, so we'll see how it all works.
Where things seem beyond our control. Here, there is an opportunity to stop a good bit of madness. For all the stupidity of humankind, Loch Lomond and the surrounding mountains are pretty much still intact. The Lomond Banks land proposals should find a home elsewhere in Scotland, not on the Bonnie Banks, where some of the old world charm of Scotland can still be found. There are many places in Scotland that remain devastated by Thatcher's deindustrialisation of Scotland. They have gaping holes in Scottish society, and where such a scheme as this could really benefit the community and Scotland. Here is Ross Greer, co-leader of the Scottish Greens, explaining why and how we must keep it as it should be.
2014 is when this process started. 2016 is when it properly kicked in, so it's been a decade now.
And so I came here and filmed with you on that wee beach. Was it this beach here?
That would have been that bit and that bit. We've done shots, I think, in both of them, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been rambling on all of this time, and I really can't quite comprehend it. I mean, actually, I've got not that much against people having a nice holiday, if that's the kind of thing they want. And I've got no real problem with them putting this somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But here is what I don't get the idea of. Yeah. Come on, let's have a few good comments from you, because it's no good me blithering.
This saga has gone on for a decade now, because Flamingo Land just cannot take no for an answer. What they're proposing is just fundamentally unsuitable for this site. You're talking about 2 hotels, a water park, over 100 lodges, a monorail, shops, restaurants. The scale of it is the most inappropriate thing. Their own impact assessment showed it would mean more than 250 extra cars an hour on local roads. Roads are already gridlocked as soon as the sun comes out. And that's on top of the fact that part of this site is a floodplain and it's contaminated land. You just cannot build on it. And yet, they've come back time and time and time again. They will not take no for an answer. They've also been enabled to do that. The government gave them an exclusive contract to put developments in for this site more than a decade ago. They could and should have terminated that exclusivity agreement years before now. We're at the final stage here. They've made their last roll of the dice, taking this decision to the Court of Session to try and get it overturned and to start the process again. Once that is dismissed, we need the government to just terminate that agreement and allow the community to move on.
And how do you feel about a dismissal in the court of this? Do you think it will happen, or do you think that some of these people, the judges, might go against?
Flamingo Land can now only argue about the process, not the outcome. The outcome has been decided. The National Park unanimously rejected them, the government's ministers rejected them. The Court of Session challenge that they're mounting now is to argue that the process was still somehow unfair. I'm confident that that argument will be dismissed and this will finally be over. The danger is they're just allowed to lodge a third application and we start the whole thing again. That's why we need the government, the moment the Court of Session dismisses the appeal, to then terminate the exclusivity agreement, because the community has been on the defensive for a decade now. There have been loads of great ideas from the community about how to move the area forward, positive ideas for development. Bits of the site are appropriate for development, not one huge mega resort, but there are bits of the site that the community do want to see developed. Everyone else has been unable to put forward applications for it because of this exclusivity agreement. With that out of the way, we can actually try and develop Balloch in a more positive manner moving forward, rather than this one massive, garish, frankly daft mega resort plan. For me and for the Greens, a big part of the frustration here has been the fact that for a decade we've had the community having to spend so much time, so much energy, so much money fighting off this corporate developer, because the whole planning process in Scotland, not just here in the National Park but nationally, is slanted in favour of developers. They can just keep coming back. They get these exclusivity agreements. If they lose, if their plans are rejected, they have a right to appeal. if Flamingo Land had got permission in the first place, the community wouldn't have had a right to appeal. The right of appeal only works one way. So for the Greens, this is really an example of how corporate greed is enabled by our planning system, is enabled by our legal system. And if there's one place in the country where that shouldn't be possible, it should be within our national parks. So we really need an overhaul of what the national parks are actually for and the protection that we offer the natural environment within these special places. Loch Lomond is world famous for a reason. The community here have fought so hard for a decade to protect that. Once this saga is finally over with, we need to overhaul the law that protects the national parks so that we don't have to just keep going through this over and over again.
See, my opinion on the way that the economy is now structured, it's all really structured so everything goes to the shareholders, isn't it? There's nothing, okay, they'll get in and they'll invest in a new building, for example. And then 3 or 4 years down the track, when it needs a bit of paint to spartan it up again because the weather's got to it or whatever, they haven't got that because that money's now being funneled away. It's the same with the care system.
And it's disappeared out of Scotland completely because such a big share of our national economy is made up of multinationals. So it's not even like Scottish-owned businesses paying out to their shareholders. Half of them are multinationals, so the wealth disappears from our economy completely.
We used to go to Constance in Germany. It was always a great day out because when you go around, Constance is a beautiful town. It's got the Bodensee there, and it's a wee bit like you're looking here because you can see the mountains in the Alps in the distance, and you can go swimming, and it's clean and it's lovely. But how it works is because it's got lots of private bits and pieces in it, as well as the big stores.
Yeah.
So you get this balance.
Lots of independent businesses.
And that keeps it going. But if you just got these big businesses, it doesn't matter because nobody really cares who works in them.
It's soulless.
Yeah.
And there's no benefit to the local economy from that. And that was the thing about Flamingo Land, that they were inevitably going to displace existing local businesses. Flamingo Land was going to cost jobs that already exist in the local community. Those jobs were with businesses that are owned by other people who live in the community, so people who spend their own money in the shops in this community. Money that Flamingo Land makes wasn't going to stay here in Balloch, it wasn't going to stay in Scotland. It was going to disappear out of our economy. So the natural environment here was going to be exploited for profit. Those profits weren't even going to go back into the community.